Welcome. Hi there. Welcome to You're Hired. Leveraging your network, job search strategies that work. Make no mistake. Searching for work is work. It takes time, effort, and a lot of self-motivation to succeed in your search. While you have your skills and experience in place to apply for and land your dream job, or one that leads you to it, searching for a job requires a whole different set of skills. In many job markets, being invited for an interview can be like winning a lottery. Your resume likely got you in the door. Now you need to wow the interviewer and do your best in the interview to land the job. This book focuses on strategies for building and leveraging your network to maximize your job searching effectiveness and is excerpted and expanded upon from my book You're Hired. Job search strategies that work. Nobody can make a promise if you follow their program. You will be guaranteed the results you are looking for, and I won't either. However, I'm confident if you follow the strategies outlined in this book, your chances of being successful in landing a job are increased. From my experience, one of the biggest problems job seekers often face is they feel they are coming from an inferior position and they don't have a lot of personal power. The belief being, the employer has the superior position and has all the power. Yes, they have the job and they have the power to give you the job, or not. What you may not realize is many hiring managers are under similar pressures as you, the job seeker. They have the pressure of finding the right candidate for the vacancy they need to fill. They are accountable to their superiors should the person they hire not work out. It has been said, an inappropriate hire can cost the organization an additional 30 to 50% over the job position's annual wage. This would include lost productivity incurred when the new hire is oriented, the cost of advertising for new applicants, and the time taken to interview and follow up with applicants. Hiring managers are under pressure to hire the right candidate. Your task is to become the only choice. The right choice. As I mentioned earlier, we are likely not experts at searching for jobs and landing one. It isn't something we do on a regular basis. As I researched the content for my book, You're Hired. Job search strategies that work, I found the problem is compounded by a lack of hard facts on what are the best practices for job searching. I'm reminded of an old parable about a group of blind men who were required to touch an elephant and to describe their observations. Each one felt a different part, but only one part, such as a tusk or the trunk. When they compared notes, they learned they were in complete disagreement. I found the same to be true when researching strategic job searching skills. Each web page from my search results on the internet spoke from the perspective of the writer, whether they were a resume writer, an employer hiring manager, recruiter, etc. Much the same as the blind men describing what an elephant looks like, their advice is from their perspective. That makes sense to me. We all create our own reality. My reality is completely different from anyone else's. The problem is the job search experts state their observations as hard facts. They believe what they write is true. And then the next article you read will dispute what the first expert had said, and they will present their truths. How can something be both true and false at the same time? You must never do this. You must always do this. Same advice. Can something be both yes and no? I don't consider myself an expert at job searching. What I am very good at, though, is taking subjects people struggle with, finding better, easier ways to do things, and breaking it down to basic strategies that work. I create systems to solve problems. Years ago, I moved my family across Canada to a city where I didn't know anyone. I had a brand new home built for me, but I didn't have a job waiting for me when I got there. At the time, the new location was very hostile towards people who had moved from the east to the west coast. I often heard, "You Easterners come out here and steal our jobs." I found jobs were limited. I found getting an interview for a position I had applied for was like winning a lottery. I also found my new geographical area had what they called a sunshine tax. As a desirable place to live, the cost of living is higher, and employers believe they can get away with paying their employees lower wages. The idea being you, the worker, should be grateful to have a job, and the employer can get away with paying you less. If you don't want the job, somebody else will. I got so tired of hearing about stealing local jobs, I started to change my story when I attended local business networking events. Instead of saying I was unemployed, I would say I had retired early. I was 39 years old, and the illusion I had retired early seemed to resolve the "you Easterners" complaint. However, I used to add, if the right job came along, I would likely consider going back to work. It was offered somewhat tongue-in-cheek. It took me a good 6 months to land a job. It wasn't as good a job as I had hoped. It was a compromise until something better came along. I describe my employment experience at my new location as being like a roller coaster ride. I went from being unemployed to employed. I went from not getting enough hours to getting too many. I went from being employed to being laid off. I went from being employed to being self-employed. Self-employment ended when I came back from a vacation to find my only client had sold their business, i.e. a vocational school, and the new owners had no idea who I was or had need of my services. Back to being unemployed. Then I got a job in another city. It was a 90-mile round trip daily. I went from being at the employer's beck and call for 3 years, working as many hours as I could as a casual staff. Then I got fired. Then I got unfired and a new job, same company, a few blocks away. I went from full-time to no time to part-time to even more part-time. Then less time and even less time. I had to tell my manager I couldn't afford to stay, and I couldn't afford to go. We solved the problem by me picking up hours from another worker who wanted to work less. The downside is I work a lot of night shifts, and it is still a 90-mile, 150-kilometer round trip for work. I think you can see why I call it a roller coaster ride. Over the years, I have been invited to numerous job search training programs as a guest speaker, promoting the value of public speaking skills to the job search and interviewing process as well as networking skills. Throughout this book, I will be providing you with what I consider being the best practices for leveraging and building your network. Some content may disagree with what the so-called experts would say, but then again, the next one would likely agree with me. If you are a sports fan, you will recognize that any sport has a set of rules and varying degrees of competition. Searching for a job, your job, is a competitive situation. It could come down to 2 or more possible candidates, hopefully you being one of them, having very similar credentials and qualifications. If there was ever a time self-promotional skills and self-confidence would come into play, it would be in the job searching and interviewing process. Being able to effectively promote yourself can make the difference between landing the job and a "thank you very much, but we won't be hiring you at this time." Welcome aboard, and I hope you enjoy our journey together. Section 1: Creating and Leveraging Your Network Web. Chapter 1: Introduction to Your Network Web. Welcome to Section 1. In this lesson, we look at how to create and use your network web to help search for your job. We are also going to look at some strategies to help you when you are out there networking. I call them power networking strategies. But before we do so, it is probably a good idea to explain what a network web is and why you should create one. In the not-too-distant past, there was a principle identified as 6 degrees of separation. According to Wikipedia, 6 degrees of separation is the idea all living things and everything else in the world are 6 or fewer steps away from each other, so a chain of a friend statements can be made to connect any 2 people in a maximum of 6 steps. It was originally set out by Frigyes Karinthy in 1929. Karinthy was apparently a Hungarian author. With the rapid development of online social media venues, it has been said the degrees of separation that connect you to almost anybody in the world is now down to 3 degrees. If you are on LinkedIn, and you should be, you can easily see as your number of first-degree connections increase, your second and third-degree connections increase exponentially. Your third-degree connections could easily be in the millions. So how do we take advantage of this worldwide interconnectedness? The answer to that question, while it is an easy one, does take some work. The network web is a tool that helps you draw upon your personal network to find the ideal job you are looking for. Your ideal job may not be posted yet. In fact, it may not even be created yet. Your network web can help put you in front of decision makers and key people that are in the position to hire you. Step 1 is to make a list of your personal categories. These are your interests and the organizations, formal and informal, that you belong to. These may include hobbies, family, church, professional organizations, sports teams, current and past employment. Create a page for each of the above categories, as well as any others you can think of. Once you have completed the task, please go to the next step in this strategy. Step 2 is to make a list of people you know in each category. Start with a list of 10 names for each organization or interest category, and then add 10 more if possible. Don't worry about considering if you have seen them recently or not. At this point, your task is to generate as many names as you can. When you have completed this task, please go to the next step in this strategy. Step 3, for illustrative purposes, we will use this drawing. It is basically a web with you at the center and 4 circles located on the web. You should create a document with the names of the circles as your headings. First circle, the crisis circle, is closest to the center of the web. These are the people you can really count on. You should have at least 4 people who will be supportive in the event of death, illness, divorce, or bankruptcy. They can include family, friends, your doctor or lawyer. The second circle, this is your buddy circle. Friends you have fun with, the people who accept you for who you are. There should be at least 3 people in this circle. The third circle, this is your professional circle. People who you know professionally, can provide reference letters, and can speak about the quality of your work and character. You need at least 12 people in this category. The fourth circle, this is your casual friend circle. People you can share ideas with. You may work with them or know them through organizations or volunteer work. Some may become closer friends and eventually form part of the more inner and intimate circles. Now you have some work to do. Create a list of people under the 4 circles headings. Example: my crisis circle. My buddies circle. Up to this point, we haven't factored in our LinkedIn connections. Likely, many of your LinkedIn connections will fit into your third circle, your professional circle. Once you have gone through your LinkedIn connections, go through your other social media accounts and your email address book and write down names. You'll be surprised at how quickly the list grows. In the next chapter, we learn how to leverage the connections you have just identified.